that is going to help you be able to complete lesson 8. Okay? So lesson 8, display measurement data on a line plot. Example 1. 6 friends shared several footlong submarine sandwiches. The table shows the amount each friend ate. Make a line plot of the lengths in the table. Count the number of times each fraction appears in the table. So here's my table. 1/4, it appears 2 times. So right here I'm going to put a 2. Okay? 1/3, I'm going to cross that off so I know I used it. 1/3 appears 1, 2, 3 times. 3 times. Cross those off. And 1/2 appears 1 time. Okay? Place the correct number of x's above each fraction on the number line. Okay? So 1/4, I'm going to place 2 x's. 1, 2, because it appears 2 times over here. 1/3, I'm going to place 3 x's because it appears 3 times over here. 1, 2, 3. And 1/2 appears 1 time, so I'm going to put 1x. And it says, add a title to the line plot. So we are going to title this Sandwich Length in feet, because we're talking about a foot long. So sandwich length in feet, because we were talking about a foot long. Okay? Okay. Now, it says, you can find the fair share, or the amount each friend would receive if the sandwich were divided equally. First, add the measurements to find the whole, then divide the whole by the number of measurements. So, add the fractions to find the total amount of sandwiches eaten. Add the fractions with like denominators first. So, 2 x's above. So remember over here, there was 2 1/4. There was 2 1/4. So 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 2/4 or 1/2. Those are equivalent fractions. On the other page, there was 3 x's above 1/3. So 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 3/3 or 1 whole. And 1/2. There was only 1/2. So 1/2 plus 1 whole plus 1/2. So 1/2 and 1/2 equals a whole, plus 1 whole equals 2. And we got those numbers by adding fractions over here. So we got this 1/2 because 2/4 is in simplest form. The 1/2 is the simplest form of the 2/4. And we went over simplest form in the previous video. So that's how I got my answer of 2. So sandwiches, so 2 whole sandwiches were eaten. Divide the total amount up by the number of x's on the line plot. To find 2 divided by 6, you can draw a model. So here are my 2 sandwiches. 2 can divide into 6 3 times. So that's where my 1/3 came from. So each piece represents 1/3 of a sandwich. So if the sandwiches were divided equally, each person would have eaten 1/3 of a sandwich. Okay, make a line plot of the measurements in the table, then find the fair share. So I'm going to start with my line plot. Here is about 1/2. Here is about 1/4. Okay, so how many 1/4ths do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many 1/2ths do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I need to do is I need to add 1/4 4 times. I need to add 1/2 4 times. So from my line plot over here, I have 4 1/4ths and 4 1/2ths. I need to add them all together. So I wrote them all out right here. But if you remember, if they have different denominators like these have, so these are all the same denominator, but these are different from these. So I need to change the fractions so that they have the same denominators. So I'm going to find multiples of 2 and 4. So I'm going to write 2 and 4. So multiples go on forever. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I'm going to stop there. Multiples go on forever. So I have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. So the numbers that I have in common are 4 and 4. Sorry, I should say the smallest number that I have in common is 4. So all these first 4 fractions are going to stay the same. The second 4 set of fractions, they're going to change. So this needs to have a denominator of 4. So I'm going to multiply it by 2 to get to 4, and the top by 2 to get to 4. So those all become 4. So I changed all of these to the same fraction of 2/4. So I have 2/4, all these 2/4 because I got them from my line plot. I have all these 2/4 and all these 1/4. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 12/4, okay? Now 12/4 is an improper fraction. So I'm going to divide 4 into 12. 4 can divide into 12 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12, which equals 0. Okay, so I have a whole number of 3. Now I need to go back and count how many fractions I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 fractions. So I'm going to take my whole number and put it over 8 because that's how many fractions I had. So my answer to this over here, find the fair share, it would be 3/8. It would be 3/8 gallon of juice. Where did I get gallons of juice from? Right there. Okay, so let's review what I did. I made a line plot, so I have my 1/2 and my 1/4. I counted how many 1/4 I had. 1, 2, 3, 4. I put them right here. I counted how many 1/2s I had. 1, 2, 3, 4. I put them right there. Then I wrote out all the fractions. So I had 4 1/4 because that's what I had from my line plot. And I had 4 1/2 because that's what I had from my line plot. But I cannot add these together because they have different denominators. So I found the least common multiple by writing down my 2 and my 4 and listing out the multiples by skip counting 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And then I did the same thing with 4. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. I saw that they have a 4 in common. They also have an 8 in common. They also have a 12 in common. But I went with the 4 because that is the smallest number that they have in common. So since they have a 4 in common, these first 4 fractions I got to leave alone. They all stayed 1/4. The 1/2 I had to change by multiplying this by 2 to get to 4, and this by 2 to get to 2. So all these 1/2s became 2/4. All the 1/2s became 2/4. So now I had 4 2/4, and now I could add all my fractions together. So I did 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's where I got my 12/4 from. The 4 stays the same. This is called an improper fraction, so I had to change it to a proper fraction. 4 can divide into 12 3 times. So that's where my 3 came from. This became my numerator. I had 8 fractions, so that's where my denominator came from. 8.